In this video, we want to introduce the Cash Flow Worksheet, which helps us deal with uneven cash flow streams, and then we'll look at something called effective annual interest rates. In this first example, you are offered an investment that will pay you $2,000 per year for the next 3 years, and then $4,000 per year for the 5 years after that. Assuming you want to earn a 7% rate of return on your investment, how much would you be willing to pay? Now at first glance this looks a little bit like an annuity because you see that $2,000 per year. However, an annuity is equal periodic cash flow over the entire period. Here we have an 8-year time frame, but the $2,000 per year is only for the first 3 years, and then it's $4,000 per year over the next 5. So this is what we call an uneven cash flow stream, in that the cash flows change over the life of the cash flow stream. Here at the bottom we can see what's called a timeline. A timeline gives us kind of a visual idea of what the cash flow stream looks like, and we can see it starting here in year 0. There's no cash flow. That represents today. 1 year later we're going to get $2,000. 2 years from today we'll get another $2,000. 3 years from today we'll get our third $2,000 payment, and when we get to year 4 the cash flow will jump to $4,000, and we'll receive $4,000 per year in years 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. In order to plug this into our financial calculator, we're going to use what's called the Cash Flow Worksheet. Cash Flow Worksheet, it gets initiated up here with the CF key. Pressing that enters the Cash Flow Worksheet module on your financial calculator. So we press the CF. Now notice here you see a negative 1,000 already in there. The Cash Flow Worksheet maintains the previous problem in the worksheet until you clear it out. Even if you start entering values into the worksheet, anything that you don't overwrite will still be there. So it's important that the very first thing you do with the Cash Flow Worksheet is clear it out. So when you turn on your calculator and you go to start a Cash Flow Worksheet problem, press CF to enter the Cash Flow Worksheet, then second, and then clear work. That clears out the worksheet. Now you can see that 1,000 or negative 1,000 is gone, and we've got a fresh worksheet. Now we start with CF0. That's our initial cash flow, what we have in year 0. Note that in this timeline there is no cash flow in year 0, so we just want to put in 0, enter, and then we'll use the up and down arrow. Here's the up, here's the down, to move along the worksheet. We want to fill in the worksheet by going down. Here C01 tells us that we want the first cash flow sequence. Our first cash flow sequence starts with $2,000 in year 1. So we plug in 2,000, enter, and then go down. And now you'll see this F. The F stands for frequency. Frequency is how many times in a row do we have that same cash flow. In our timeline we have that 2001, 2, 3 consecutive periods. So we plug in a 3, enter, and go down. Now this gets a little confusing. Here you see C02 would seem to imply the year 2 cash flow, but we're out here in year 4 now. The 2 actually stands for the second sequence of cash flows as opposed to the second year of cash flows. We're going to put in 4,000 for this cash flow 2, and it's going to recognize that it's already in year 4. It's the start of the second sequence, not the second year. So 4,000 is our second sequence. Enter that, go down, and again frequency. We had this cash flow for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 consecutive periods. So 5 for the frequency, enter, and now we've put in all our cash flows. The next thing we're going to do is we want to find how much be willing to pay today for this cash flow stream. So we're solving for a present value, but instead of using the 5 key approach present value, we're going to use what's called the net present value. So we press NPV, Now it asks us for our interest rate, our discount rate. We want a 7% rate of return, so that's going to be our interest rate. So we press 7, enter, and now go down, and now it's at the NPV screen. We just need to press compute. It tells us this cash flow stream is worth $18,636.56. So how much would we be willing to pay? This is the maximum we'd be willing to pay. If somebody were going to offer us this investment for $18,000, we'd be happy to accept it because we know it's worth more than that. If somebody were to offer us this investment for $19,000, we'd reject them because we know it's not worth that much. This is the maximum that that cash flow stream is worth to us as of today. In our next example, we're offered an investment that will pay $1,000 1 year from today, $2,000 2 years from today, and then $3,000 per year for the following 3 years, in years 3, 4, and 5. We can purchase this investment for $6,500. What rate of return are we anticipating? Now here, instead of solving for the net present value and finding out what we'd be willing to pay, we know what the cost is, so we're trying to calculate our rate of return. Here we can see our timeline. Note that the year 0 cash flow in this one is negative $6,500. Make sure you get that negative sign in there because we're spending that today. In exchange for giving up $6,500 today, we get $1,000 in 1 year, $2,000 in 2 years, and then $3,000 per year in years 3, 4, and 5. So now we want to put that into our calculator. Again, we start by going to the cash flow worksheet so we can enter that cash flow stream. Again, as soon as you do that, we need to clear the worksheet out. So second, clear work. That gets the previous problem out of our worksheet and allows us to enter the new cash flows. We start with CF0, which was our $6,500 investment. $6,500. Remember, use the plus minus key to make that negative since we're spending that money. Re-enter, go down, and now we put in the first cash flow. That sequence is $1,000. Enter, go down, and it asks for the frequency. Note that the default frequency is 1, and that's exactly what this is. We only have this cash flow once, so we don't have to enter anything. We can just use the down arrow and go on to the next cash flow. The next cash flow is 2,000. We put that in, 2,000, enter, go down. Again, the default frequency is 1. We only have one of those $2,000 cash flows, so we can go down and it asks for the third sequence. Now we have $3,000 per year in years 3, 4, and 5. So our cash flow 3 is 3,000. Enter, down, that frequency is 3. Enter, and now we've entered the entire cash flow stream into our calculator. Now we need to calculate the rate of return. With the cash flow worksheet, our rate of return now is no longer going to be solved by the interest per year, but by what we call the internal rate of return. So press the internal rate of return button, press compute, calculator thinks for a while, and tells us that our rate of return is 20.65%. So if we purchase this investment, we're going to earn a nearly 21% rate of return on our $6,500 over the next 5 years.